first faces I saw when I came out of the sub, shook my hand afterwards, and just what an honor it was for us as that team here 52 years later to close the loop with history, and to, I think, by our kind of media presence out there, because we weren't as smart as you, Don. We didn't embargo it. We said, hey, everybody, look over here. We're going to go make this dive. If it hadn't worked out, the cameras were looking. But, to be able to share with the world that this had been done 52 years ago. Different technology, but I think so many of the factors were the same. We even used the same drop shot system that you guys use for our balance trim. And to really get to sort of honor after the fact the pioneers in the ocean in the 60s who had such a huge impact on me as a kid. And of course it was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream to get to make those dives leading up to the Challenger deep dive. It was frustrating to not be able to dive more. We had planned on making 6 or 7 or 8 subsequent dives, but unfortunately the expedition wound up running along. And we basically kind of ran out of money. It's a privately funded enterprise, and I think, as Sylvia mentioned, it wasn't a government program. And it was interesting thinking about, as the sub was going down, going past the depth that Alvin could achieve, that the Mears could achieve, that the new Chinese Jiaolong could achieve, and thinking, wait a minute, I'm talking about the Chinese sub, the American sub, the Russian subs, the French sub, Natil. It's like, where is the privately funded sub and all that? Well, I was sitting inside it, and I think about the fact that my little tiny team, probably not that many more, in terms of the core group as you had. I would say 16, 18 people were the core group. We had a lot of vendors and so on. But that little core team was, there were people from Australia, from the United States, England, Canada, China, one from China. So they were really just dreamers from all over the world who came together, not gathered under a flag, not funded by taxpayer money, but pursuing a dream of something that seemed kind of on its face to be impossible. One of the things that I want to share tonight that I think is so important, this group is a special group, is because everyone here cares so deeply about the ocean. And the process of making Avatar for me, the process of going out around the world and meeting people and hearing how they were affected by it, really convinced me that there's a possibility for film, for our creative film language, to reach people in really deep, emotional and meaningful ways. And what I'm talking about is a consciousness about the environment, the biosphere, and what we're doing to it. I know everybody here cares deeply about the ocean. Our hearts are in the ocean, and I think our hearts are breaking as a result of what's happening to the ocean. We all feel this need to do something about it before it's too late. And I've come to a kind of an interesting epiphany, and I want to share it with this group because I think this is a special group, and we're like-minded in that sense about the oceans. And it's, the films that I've done, the ocean films that I've done, and this Lifetime Achievement Award represents, I suppose, the accomplishment of those films, have all been about deep exploration. And Sylvia and I have had this conversation. And the exploration does an interesting thing for somebody like me as a kind of media presence. It becomes a little bit of a parlor trick. I'm doing exploration, so that draws attention to the oceans. But I'm not really making films about conservation. I'm not making films about the things that we need to embrace, the challenge that we need to embrace as a species in order to protect our biosphere. And so my epiphany recently, having made Avatar, having accomplished the deep ocean exploration kind of pinnacle that I could imagine, is I need to shift gears pretty radically. I need to put what I know about making films and about capturing the heart and mind of an audience toward that goal of helping our living planet survive, and especially the oceans, which is my first love. So I'm going to be, it's not that I'm going to turn my back on exploration. Of course I'm not. I love exploration. I think it's a fundamental part of the human character, our DNA, and I'm going to continue with that. And I'm going to take the technology that we developed for the Deep Sea Challenger submersible and make that essentially open source for the research community. So if they want access to the foam, to the cameras, to the lights, to the electronics, the battery systems, whatever we created, that'll be out there and that'll be available. But as there's no money. Nobody's got any money to do this stuff, and it needs to be done, and it's so important. So there's no point trying to reinvent the wheel for stuff that, you know, if we manage to move the technology downfield a bit. But where my focus as a filmmaker is going to be is in trying to move hearts and minds around the world about the real plight of the oceans. And I want to ask you guys, you know, pose a couple of challenges here tonight. You know, you think about all the good work that everybody in this room are doing toward helping to conserve the oceans and you know, looking at fisheries and trying to create marine protected areas and sanctuaries and so on. And I would submit, I was talking to Jane Lubchenko here from NOAA earlier, and she's and Julie Packard, and we were talking about all this stuff, and this idea that the 800-pound gorilla in the room is climate change, really. Because with climate change, you're going to lose the coral reefs in 40, 50 years because you know they can't withstand the rise in sea temperatures, and you're going to lose so much of the food web as a result of ocean acidification, which comes from the same source, which is the carbon pollution. So as a civilization, we need to fundamentally change our whole relationship with nature. You know, we see nature, not us in this room, but we see nature collectively as something from which we consume, something from which we take. And we have to start thinking pretty seriously about what we give back. And so, you know, that's gonna be my focus. I know you all are focused. Here's the one challenge I want to leave with you. Think about if the 800-pound gorilla is climate change, if that's the thing that's going to have the most devastating effect on the ocean, that's going to go past all the boundaries of the marine protected areas and the sanctuaries and so on, and hit everything at a global level and degrade the biosphere, then what do we do? What are the action items that we can do to make a dent in climate change? And I came up with something kind of interesting recently. My wife Susie asked me to watch a film called Forks Over Knives, which was about the health benefits of a plant-based diet. And I started doing research and reading all the books and everything, and found out some pretty amazing things about the way we eat. We're talking about consumption. When you think about climate change, you start thinking, well, energy policy, right? Consumption of energy. You know, maybe we'll buy a Prius. We'll you know, reduce our carbon footprint that way. The interesting thing is that the amount of carbon that's injected into the atmosphere is about 1.5 times the amount created by the entire transportation sector. Every plane, train, automobile, ship in the world, it's about 1.5 times greater coming from the production of animal products. For human consumption. So now you guys are thinking, wait a minute, why? I don't want to hear about this lifestyle crap. Let's talk about diving the Titanic, going to the Challenger Deep. The point I'm trying to make is we care about the oceans. Our hearts are breaking for what's happening in the oceans. We've got to do something about it. And we're always talking about what are the action items when we make a documentary. You know, what are we asking people to do? What are the changes they can make in their daily life? Well, I'm going to tell you one. I watched that film, Forks Over Knives. I went into the kitchen. I took everything out of the kitchen that was not a plant. And for 5.5 months, I've eaten only plants. Right. No meat, no dairy, no eggs, no fish. As Sylvia's always saying, if you want to save the fish, just don't eat them. Right? I'm healthier, I've got more energy, my cardio endurance has about doubled. I used to run 20-25 minutes, I'm now running an hour. It's amazing, but setting aside the health benefits, how often do you get that kind of incredible win-win where you can really transform the planet? And it's possible. You've got to check the facts for yourself. You're not going to believe it hearing it from me. But I want to challenge everybody here. If you're an environmentalist, I say, my challenge is, you can't be an environmentalist. You can't be an ocean steward without truly walking the walk, and you can't walk the walk in the world of the future, the world ahead of us, the world of our children, not eating a plant-based diet. That's my challenge. You can check the facts for yourselves. And anyway, so.